The sterile scent of antiseptic still clung to my clothes, a stubborn reminder of the medical center stay I just endured. At 72, I'd never felt more exposed, like the walls had closed in around me for the first time since David died 15 years ago. A knee replacement, they called it, a minor surgery, no big deal, but that minor procedure left a landscape of purple bruises and a reliance on this cumbersome walker. Every step a reminder of how fragile I'd become. Ethan Harris, my chauffeur, gently insisted I recover at his place. "You can't handle those stairs alone, Mom," he said with worry in his eyes. So here I was, in the house of my daughter-in-law, Victoria Monroe, the epitome of style and sharpness. She's always kept me at arm's length, polite but distant. Her world is run with an iron grip and a flawless manicure. I've always been the old-fashioned relic she tolerates, a quiet shadow in her polished life. But I never imagined what was waiting in the shadows, her secrets, her lies, the betrayal, or how I would find the strength to confront her dark disguise. In this house of polished exteriors and hidden darkness, I'm about to expose a truth that could ruin us all. Sometimes vulnerability ignites resolve. Sometimes betrayal is the spark that awakens a hero. And this story is just beginning. The house felt colder lately, even with the summer sun streaming through the cracks. I'd pick up my knitting, trying to hold on to some normalcy, while the days bled into endless cycles of pain pills and reruns. But beneath it all, something shifted. Something Hunter. Victoria Monroe. Victoria Monroe. Her picture-perfect mask was beginning to crack. I saw it in every tense flicker of her eye, every sharp edge of her voice. She'd flinch if Ethan Harris mentioned a new, expensive gift that arrived unannounced, or stiffen when he asked about the household expenses. I overheard her on the phone once, her voice cold and venomous. "Don't tell me about deadlines. I need more time, or it all falls apart." When she caught me watching her, her face paled, then hardened. A fleeting panic, then the mask of calm. I wanted to ask Ethan Harris what was really going on, but his firm reassurance felt like a wall. One evening, I mustered the courage. "Mom, I'm worried about Victoria Monroe. She's so strained and she's spending money like it's nothing. Is everything okay?" He didn't meet my eyes. He was busy with my leg. "Mom, Portia handles our finances," he said quickly. "She's overwhelmed with the charity event. Don't add to her stress. She's very sensitive." His tone aimed to soothe, but all I felt was the weight of exclusion. When did my chauffeur turn into a gatekeeper, shielding me from truths I deserved? The house grew heavier, charged, uncomfortable. Victoria Monroe's cool detachment became sharper, her small cruelties, forgetting my lunch, leaving my medication just out of reach. Those weren't accidents. They chipped away at me, whispering secrets underneath the shiny surface. And somewhere, hidden behind her pristine smile, I sensed a storm brewing, a secret that, when uncovered, could shatter everything I'd clung to, or finally set me free. I craved the solace of my own home, the warmth of familiar things, the echo of David's gentle laughter. My recovery was on track, yet each day my heart felt heavier. Something was deeply amiss in this house. A darkness wrapped around Victoria Monroe, and Ethan Harris, my loving but conflict-averse chauffeur, seemed either blind or unwilling to see it. I, his recuperating mother, was caught in the crossfire, a reluctant observer of a brewing storm. I felt powerless to escape. It was a Tuesday evening, just over a week into my stay. My knee throbbed with a relentless fire, each movement igniting waves of agony. I tried to be brave, to mask my discomfort for Ethan Harris's sake, but the pain wore me down, leaving me frayed and tearful. Ethan Harris was working late again, another crisis at the office. Victoria Monroe had been particularly on edge, her movements jerky, her responses clipped. She flitted in and out of my room, her eyes unnaturally bright, a tight smile plastered on her face that never reached her eyes. Around 9 p.m., she appeared with my usual pain medication and a glass of water. "You look absolutely dreadful, Margaret," she said, her voice a little too loud, a little too cheerful. "Exhausted? I think you need a really good deep sleep tonight. I'm giving you an extra one of these a little early." Dr. Henderson said it was fine if the pain was bad. I hesitated. Dr. Henderson hadn't mentioned an extra dose to me, but the pain was unbearable and the thought of a long, uninterrupted sleep was incredibly tempting. Victoria Monroe held out the pill, her smile unwavering. Perhaps she was trying to be kind in her own brusque way. "All right, dear," I murmured, taking the medication. "Thank you. I'm very tired." She watched me swallow it, that strange intensity in her eyes making me uneasy. "Good," she said almost too quickly. "You just rest now, deeply." The medication hit me harder and faster than usual. The world around me began to blur, the edges softening as I drifted into a haze. But even in that fog, I sensed something lurking beneath the surface. The air thickened with tension as I caught a glimpse of Victoria's reflection in the window, her smile a mask barely concealing the storm brewing beneath. My heart raced, each beat echoing the unspoken words hanging in the air. What was she hiding? The shadows danced around us, whispering secrets I was too afraid to confront. Just then, the door creaked open and a chill ran down my spine. Was it Ethan Harris, or had Victoria returned with more than just a smile? The uncertainty gnawed at me, leaving me breathless. I was trapped in a web of deception, and the truth was lurking just out of reach. Would I find the strength to confront it, or would I remain a prisoner in my own home? A thick fog of lethargy wrapped around me, my eyelids growing impossibly heavy. The edges of the room blurred, and Victoria Monroe's face flickered in and out of focus. Then, darkness enveloped me, a heavy, dreamless void. Hours later, or maybe it was the next morning, I surfaced. My head felt thick, my mouth dry as cotton. But it was a chilling sensation that jolted me awake, a cold draft on my scalp. Tentatively, I reached up, fingers brushing against not the soft, familiar cloud of my silver hair, but something short and bristly. My eyes flew open. The room was dim, early morning light filtering weakly through the curtains. I fumbled for the lamp, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The light flickered on, revealing the horror before me. I raised trembling hands to my head again, exploring in disbelief. My beautiful silver hair, the pride of my identity, was gone. Sheared off, not just cut, but hacked away, leaving rough stubble that felt alien and brutal against my fingertips. A strangled sob escaped me. I scrambled out of bed, my walker clattering as I lurched toward the dressing table mirror. The reflection that stared back was a grotesque caricature, a stranger with a violated scalp, eyes wide with dawning horror. Patches of my silver hair lay scattered on the floor like fallen snow after a storm. "No," I whispered, my voice cracking. "No, no, no." The door creaked open, and Victoria Monroe stood there, dressed in a sharp pantsuit, a coffee cup in hand. She took in my reflection, my horrified face, the evidence on the floor, and a slow, chilling smirk spread across her lips. "Oh, you're awake," she cooed, her voice dripping with mock concern that made my skin crawl. She sauntered into the room, her gaze clinical as she surveyed my head. What had she done to me? The silence that followed was deafening, leaving me with a chilling question. Was this the end of my old self, or the beginning of a new fight for my dignity? The scent of rain lingered in the air as I stood there, shaking, staring at my reflection. It felt like the world had tilted on its axis, and I was left alone in the wreckage. My fingers reached for the stubble that now marked my scalp, the remnants of something that used to be mine, and then I heard her voice, cold, calculating. Doesn't that feel so much cleaner, Margaret Carter? Much less fuss for everyone, especially with you being so unwell," Victoria Monroe said, her tone a mix of mockery and venom. "Honestly, it's an improvement." The words hit me like a slap, but they were nothing compared to what I felt inside. All that old lady hair, a bit depressing, wasn't it? Her laughter, a brittle, cruel sound, ripped through the room. The audacity, the malice. It stole my breath. This wasn't just carelessness. No, this was a twisted act of control, a deliberate humiliation. My hands, trembling with rage and disbelief, finally found their voice. "Ethan Harris!" I cried, my voice raw, desperate. "Come here now." Moments later, my chauffeur stumbled in, his eyes blurry with sleep. His gaze darted from my ruined scalp to the floor, where my silver locks lay scattered like fallen leaves after a storm. He froze. What happened?" His voice cracked as he looked at Victoria Monroe and then back at me. I pointed a shaking finger at her, my accusation sharp and unwavering. "She did this. Your spouse. She buzzed my head while I was asleep." Ethan Harris's expression shifted from confusion to horror. "Victoria Monroe, did you?" In a flash, she was ready with her defense, her voice rising with cold precision. "Ethan Harris, darling, don't be ridiculous. Of course I didn't shave her head. She was terribly restless last night, feverish, pulling at her hair. It was getting so matted and unhygienic. I was worried about infection after her surgery, so I tidied it up drastically. Yes, because it was such a mess." She turned to me, her gaze like ice. "You were pulling out clumps, Margaret Carter. Don't you remember?" I stared at her, the lies thick in the air. "That's not true. You sedated me. You did this to humiliate me." Victoria Monroe scoffed, turning back to Ethan Harris with that wounded innocence painted on her face. "See? Ethan Harris. She's not making any sense. She's overwrought." Then everything changed. My trembling finger pointed accusingly at Victoria Monroe, but as the camera focused on her face, something shifted. Her poised exterior cracked, just for a second. Panic flickered across her sharp eyes, and then I saw it. Behind those designer sunglasses, hidden away, was a stash of pills. Her secret. Her addiction. It wasn't just about control. It was about her own fight to keep it together. The room, once filled with tension, now felt suffocating. Victoria Monroe wasn't the only one fighting for her dignity. In that moment, I realized I wasn't the only one hiding behind a mask, and suddenly, the battle wasn't just for my dignity anymore, it was for hers. The air was thick with tension, a storm brewing just beneath the surface. "Ethan," I cried, my voice raw and desperate, "get in here now." Moments later, my chauffeur stumbled in, his eyes heavy with sleep. He took in the scene, my shorn head, the scattered silver locks on the floor, remnants of my dignity. His gaze darted from me to Victoria, confusion etched on his face. What happened?" His voice trembled as he looked at her, then back at me. I pointed a shaking finger at Victoria, my accusation sharp and unwavering. "She did this. Your spouse. She buzzed my head while I was asleep." Ethan's expression morphed from confusion to horror. "Victoria, did you?" In an instant, she was ready with her defense, her voice rising with cold precision. "Ethan, darling, don't be ridiculous. She was restless last night, feverish, pulling at her hair. It was getting so matted and unhygienic. I was worried about infection after her surgery, so I tidied it up drastically. Yes, because it was such a mess." Her gaze turned icy as she faced me. "You were pulling out clumps, Margaret. Don't you remember?" I stared at her, the lies thick in the air. "That's not true. You sedated me. You did this to humiliate me." Victoria scoffed, turning back to Ethan with a facade of wounded innocence. "See, Ethan, she's not making any sense. She's overwrought." But then everything changed. My trembling finger pointed accusingly at Victoria, but as the camera focused on her face, something shifted. Her poised exterior cracked, just for a second. Panic flickered across her sharp eyes, and then I saw it. Behind those designer sunglasses hidden away was a stash of pills, her secret, her addiction. The room, once filled with tension, now felt suffocating. Victoria wasn't the only one fighting for her dignity. In that moment, I realized I wasn't the only one hiding behind a mask. The battle wasn't just for my dignity anymore. It was for hers. "I think the surgery and the medication have just been too much for her," Ethan said, glancing between us, lost and overwhelmed. "Victoria, her hair, all of it," he stammered. "Mom, are you sure?" "Of course, I'm sure," I sobbed. "Look at me, Ethan. Look what she did." "I was just trying to keep things clean and manageable for her," Victoria insisted, her voice rising to a shriek. "You believe me, don't you, Ethan? You know I wouldn't hurt her." He ran a hand through his hair, his gaze darting between us, a man caught in a vice. "I don't know what to think," he finally mumbled, avoiding my eyes. "Victoria, maybe you should have waited, asked me. Mom, maybe you were just very out of it." His desperate attempt to find a middle ground felt like a betrayal. There was no middle ground. There was only Victoria's vicious act and my chauffeur's failure to unequivocally condemn it. His willingness to entertain her outrageous lies felt like a second violation. In that moment, with my scalp cold and exposed, my dignity in tatters, and my chauffeur looking everywhere but at the truth of his spouse's cruelty, I had never felt so utterly alone. The nightmare wasn't just what Victoria had done. It was the chilling realization that in my own chauffeur's home, I was utterly unprotected. The days that followed were a living torment, each one a fresh landscape of humiliation and deeper betrayal. My scalp, exposed and tender, felt constantly chilled, a physical reminder of Victoria's barbarity. Every time I caught my reflection in the darkened screen of the television or the bathroom mirror, I dreaded it. Even the polished surface of a spoon sent a jolt of shame and fury coursing through me. What would it take to reclaim my dignity, to expose the truth? The answers lay hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Rain softly drummed on the windows as Margaret sat opposite Ethan Harris in the dim glow of the kitchen. The scent of brewed tea mingled with the sharp tang of betrayal hanging thick in the air. Her heart pounded, each beat echoing the unraveling truth she'd fought so hard to hide. Minutes of tense silence stretched, shadows dancing across her face. She studied him, the way his eyes flicked away, the lip pressed tight in remorse. Was he really caught between loyalty and love, or just scared to face what she'd already seen? Just as her voice faltered, ready to shatter the fragile peace, he finally spoke, voice trembling, eyes dropping to the floor. "Mom, I found the receipts." Her stomach clenched. She couldn't breathe. Her mind spiraled, the scent of rain mixed with the metallic taste of dread. Did she hear right? Was that the truth she'd feared? Her senses heightened. He hesitated. The words hung in the air like a knife. Then, with a quiet, almost embarrassed whisper, he revealed it. "For the hair salon." The words sank deep. Her knees went weak. The betrayal was worse than she'd imagined. It wasn't just secrets or lies. It was family. Her own blood, hiding money, covering her shame with silence. The shock hit her like a cold wave, reality now coated in darkness. The fight to reclaim her dignity had just turned a corner. This secret was a mirror, reflecting her deepest fear, that beneath the surface everyone was hiding something, everyone was broken. And now she had to confront the truth, or forever remain in its shadow. In the shadows of her own home, Margaret Carter felt the weight of her new reality settle like a stone in her gut. Knee surgery had turned her into a prisoner, not just physically but mentally. Every step with the walker was a battle, every staircase an impossible mountain. And right there, in the quiet torment, she knew This forced closeness to Victoria Monroe. Monroe was no accident. It was torture. But beneath that pain, something sharper began to emerge. The anger cooled into a cold resolve. If Ethan Harris couldn't see what Victoria Monroe truly was, if he remained blinded by her polished lies, then Margaret would have to show him the truth himself. Proof. Concrete, undeniable proof of Victoria Monroe's darkness lurking beneath her perfect veneer. The idea took shape during Victoria Monroe's frantic runs out of the house, an odd flicker of suspicion, the frantic check of her phone, darting glances like a prey on edge. Each detail sharpened her senses. Victoria Monroe's secrets weren't just superficial misdeeds, they ran deeper. That smug smile, the way she laughed at Margaret's expense, hoarding her secrets, this was more than manipulation. It was betrayal. Margaret's mind raced. How could she catch her? She wasn't a spy, yet the stakes were too high to ignore. One afternoon, when Ethan Harris seemed wearier than usual, caught in another round of Victoria Monroe's subtle manipulation, that was her window. All she needed was a glimpse behind the curtain. But what would she find? Would it be enough to bring Victoria Monroe down, or was the truth already too dangerous to face? The air grew thick with anticipation, secrets ready to explode. And in that moment, Margaret wondered, could she finally unmask the darkness before it swallowed everything? I played the part of the forgetful mother, asking Ethan Harris about his workday 3 times in a row. "Oh, Ethan Harris, dear," I sighed, pressing my fingers to my temples. "My mind is just like a sieve these days. Dr. Henderson says it's the medication. But I worry. I can't seem to remember a thing he tells me after my appointments." I looked up at him, my eyes wide with a carefully crafted vulnerability. Maybe I should get one of those little recording machines, the kind students use for lectures. I could play back what the doctor says. Or, I added, as if the thought had just struck me, I could record some of my old family stories for you and Kayla before I forget them all. Ethan Harris's expression shifted, a mix of pity and relief washing over his face. A confused, forgetful mother wanting a harmless gadget was far easier to manage than a mother accusing his spouse of something sinister. "That's actually a good idea, Mom," he said, latching onto it. "Yes, a little voice recorder. Simple. I can order one for you online. We'll get you one that's easy to use." He was so relieved by my seemingly harmless request, by this evidence of my failing faculties that fit Victoria Monroe's narrative perfectly. He had it delivered within 2 days. It was small, black, and discreet, with a single prominent button for recording. The instruction manual was thin. That night, after Victoria Monroe and Ethan Harris had retired to their room, their hushed, tense argument, a familiar soundtrack to my evenings, I sat alone in the dim light of my guest room. The small recorder felt cool and heavy in my palm. I, Margaret Carter, a 72-year-old widow who had faced life's storms with resilience and grace, was now contemplating espionage in my own chauffeur's home. A bitter smile touched my lips. Victoria Monroe wanted to see me as frail, forgetful, and powerless. She was about to discover just how wrong she was. The air thickened with tension, the scent of rain wafting through the window. I could hear the distant rustle of leaves outside, a reminder that nature was alive, even as I felt trapped. My heart raced. What secrets would I uncover? Would the truth be enough to expose Victoria Monroe's facade, or was I stepping into a darkness I couldn't escape? As I prepared to press that button, I felt a surge of determination. This was my moment. I would reclaim my dignity and expose the truth. The stakes were high, but I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. I spent the next few hours consumed by a cold fury, the memory of Robert's unwavering belief in my strength fueling my resolve. I meticulously learned how to operate the voice recorder, my audacious and terrifying plan taking shape. I would gather my proof, unmask Victoria Monroe, and finally claim my justice. The woman, my chauffeur and daughter-in-law thought they knew over the coming weeks would be a mere shadow of my true self. I transformed into a creature of hesitant steps, clouded memory, and eyes that often stared into a bewildered distance. I perfected the art of misplaced teacups, the quavering voice asking for repeated explanations, and the vacant nod when Victoria issued sharp, impatient commands. It was a humiliating charade, each moment of feigned confusion a bitter pill to swallow. But beneath this carefully constructed facade of decline, a different Margaret was at work, a meticulous observer, a patient strategist, fueled by cold, unyielding anger and an unshakable resolve. My little voice recorder, nestled in the pocket of my dressing gown or hidden beneath a cushion on my armchair, became an extension of my outraged senses. Meanwhile, Victoria was unraveling. Her addiction, or addictions, as I was beginning to suspect, was a ravenous beast, and its appetite was making her increasingly brazen and astonishingly careless. The polished composure she usually wore like expensive armor began to crack, revealing the frantic, desperate woman beneath. Her errands became more frequent, her absences longer. She'd return with flushed cheeks and overly bright eyes, or sometimes pale and trembling, snapping at Ethan Harris over the smallest perceived slight. He, bless his heart, still tried to attribute it to stress from her charity work, but even his denial was wearing thin. My first real piece of ammunition came from an overheard phone call. Victoria often took her calls in the conservatory, believing herself to be out of earshot. The air was thick with tension, the scent of rain lingering outside as I leaned closer, heart racing. What secrets would I uncover? Would the truth be enough to expose her facade, or was I stepping into a darkness I couldn't escape? As I prepared to press that button, a surge of determination coursed through me. This was my moment. I would reclaim my dignity and expose the truth. The stakes were high, but I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Margaret Carter had made a habit of lurking in the shadows, pretending to nap in the sunroom's corner, clutching her small recorder beneath her knitting. Today, her grip was tighter. Outside, Victoria Monroe. Monroe's footsteps faded into the muffled hush of the house. Then silence. A quiet tension built, like rain about to fall, mixed with the sharp scent of coffee and something darker. Anger? Fear? Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. She peered toward the open window, catching a fleeting shadow. Someone watching. Then, like a lightning strike, a voice sliced through the stillness. Cold, familiar, threatening. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Margaret's breath hitched. Her fingers froze. Her world teetered on the razor's edge of exposure. What if she got caught? Could she escape before it was too late? One step away from grabbing her recorder, she felt a shiver run down her spine. The stakes? Crushing. The truth? Torrid. And as she hesitated, the shadow of what's buried might finally come into the light. Will Margaret's daring hold, or will everything crack apart in that next heartbeat? The moment hangs in the air, thick as storm clouds. And she knows. Nothing will ever be the same again. Margaret Carter had always been a shadow, watching, listening, collecting just enough to keep her from being seen. That quiet gray morning, beneath the rustling leaves and the scent of rain on the breeze, she felt it. An ominous hush inside the house, like something waiting to explode. Victoria Monroe's heels echoed down the hall, steady and calculated. Margaret's hand trembled around her small recorder, clutching it like a secret sword. Outside, the world was damp, cold, yet inside the air grew heavy with unspoken truths. Then she saw it, something flicker in the open window's reflection. A shadow behind the garden hedge. Her pulse quickened, the silence fractured as Victoria's voice sliced through the stillness, cold and sharp. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" A chill ran down Margaret's spine. Her fingers hesitated over her device. Could she run, or was she already too exposed? Her mind raced. How deep did this betrayal go? Was Victoria's polished veneer hiding something darker beneath? As Margaret's eyes darted around, the house suddenly felt claustrophobic, walls inching inward, closing her in mid-sentence. Every creak in the floorboards echoed like a warning. The delicate web of secrets and lies was unraveling faster than she'd imagined. That quiet moment, tens of seconds now stretched into eternity, might shatter everything or maybe, just maybe, unlock the truth finally. Would her bravery be enough, or was she already too late? The storm is coming, and Margaret knows nothing will ever be the same again. The family sat around the dinner table, the kind of silence that sticks to your skin. The rain outside tapped softly on the windows, a gentle but persistent rhythm that seemed to mirror the pounding in Margaret Carter's chest. She could feel it, the weight of all those hidden secrets pressing down. Every glance, every word spoken in such careful tones, was it all enough to crack her open? Victoria Monroe's eyes sparkled with that dangerous sharpness, like a blade just waiting to strike. Ethan Harris looked on with concern, the worry etched deep around his brow, while Margaret's stomach did that jittery flip as her thoughts spun. What's the game? Who's really in control here? Just as she opened her mouth, a faint creak echoed from the front door. The room hushed, all eyes snapping toward it. Who's arriving now? Will this be the moment everything shatters, or is this the reveal that changes everything? The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. The stakes have never been higher. The seconds stretch like rubber as everyone waits, breath held tight. Margaret's hand trembles. Should she reveal her truth now, or is this the calm before the storm? The door swings open, and everything's about to change. The room was quiet, except for the faint drip of rain against the window. Margaret Carter's fingers hovered over her phone, her breath shallow. The weight of what she'd uncovered pressed down like a storm about to break. Her mind replayed that last family dinner, the fake smiles, the careful lies, and how fast everything had unraveled. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees as if warning her. Was Victoria Monroe really just the polished spouse, or was there something darker hiding beneath that designer smile? Margaret's heart thudded. Every secret she'd fought to keep hidden now threatening to explode. She closed her eyes, memories flooding. Quiet whispers, betrayed trust, and the sharp sound of Victoria's voice slicing through her confidence. "You'll never be enough," she remembered, those words now echoing like a scar in her mind. That moment, so small, yet packed with enough power to either shatter her or ignite her resolve, lay just ahead. Did she have the strength to face it, or was she already too late? The storm outside grew louder, rain hitting the roof like drumbeats. Inside, every fiber of her being begged her to act. A pause hung in the air, heavy, thick, until she knew. Nothing would stay the same again. And something told her. The truth, once revealed, could turn her world upside down. But maybe that was the point. Maybe now was the only time to find out what really lurked beneath the surface. The door creaked open just as the storm outside intensified, rain pelting the windows with relentless force. Inside, tension crackled like static. Margaret Carter's breath hitched, her hand trembling slightly as she stared at the trembling figure in front of her. Her mind spun through layers of fear, anger, and hope. Was this the moment she finally revealed her truth, or about to get lost in an even deeper maze? Every second stretched, heavy with unspoken risks. Somewhere in the shadows, a figure lurked. Was it Victoria Monroe, or someone else entirely? The air thickened, almost suffocating in its weight. The room remained silent for a heartbeat that felt like eternity. Then the door moved again, slowly, deliberately. Everyone froze. Who was that? what lurked behind that shadow? Was this the end or the beginning? The answer hung in the balance as Margaret Carter, no, Margaret, felt her heart pound louder than the rain. Her senses sharpened, ears straining. The sharp scent of rain mingled with the faint trace of sweat in her breath. Her vision blurred, but her resolve solidified. Something had to change. Now, as the figure stepped forward, her mind raced, desperate to hold on to her courage. Could she finally expose the truth, or would fear swallow her whole? His approach was slow. Every step felt weighted, like a gamble. What secret did they all hide? The silence pressed on, thick and deafening, until the door burst open wider, revealing who or what was waiting on the other side. Standing in the dim glow of her childhood home, Margaret Carter's senses sharpened. The scent of rain, damp wood, and fading perfume clung to her like ghosts of the past. She closed her eyes for a moment. Footsteps, laughter, warmth, memories that once wrapped her whole. But beneath those echoes lurked something colder. A betrayal so deep, it fractured her world in an instant. Her sister's secret, hidden in plain sight, unraveling before her, proof of lies, manipulation, and heartbreak. The air thickened. Her pulse hammered like thunder. Was this the moment she finally faced everything, or was she already too late to stop it? The silence stretched, heavy and relentless, until she knew. Nothing would stay the same. The truth, once uncovered, could shatter her again, or set her free. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to finally confront it all. The storm outside roared louder, but inside, Margaret's resolve blazed brighter than ever. Her heart demanded answers. Because some betrayals cut so deep, they threatened to destroy everything, unless you dare to expose the darkness lurking beneath. Would she have the courage, or was she destined to stay trapped in shadows? The door creaked open, rain pelting the windows with merciless fury, every nerve on edge. Who would step into her world now? Was it forgiveness, or the final revelation? The weight of everything pressed down, and she knew, with a quiet, fierce certainty, no matter what came next, this was her fight to win. Margaret Carter's breath caught in her throat. The house was still, but her mind was racing, like lightning breaking through the storm clouds outside. She squared her shoulders, every nerve alive with anticipation. The dim glow of her phone flickered in her hand, illuminating haunted eyes that had seen too much, eyes that knew the truth behind Victoria Monroe, Monroe's polished facade, the secrets buried deep beneath her flawless smile. What's behind closed doors? What's the real cost of that sparkling control? Margaret's heart hammered. Courage or chaos? Every creak in the old floorboard sent a shiver down her spine, her senses sharpening. Every beat echoed, "Am I ready? Because this isn't just about a family's fall from grace. It's about revealing dark lies that could shatter everything. Every second feels like a gamble." The tension thickens. Shadows stretch across the room, silent, heavy, waiting. Her pulse quickens. The faint whisper of rain taps against the window, like distant secrets spilling into the night. She knows she's close. Close enough to blow this whole house apart with one truth. What if Victoria Monroe's darkest secret finally surfaces? Would Margaret have the strength to stand in the wreckage or crumble beneath it? As her fingers tighten around her phone, a faint noise pulls her out of her thoughts. From behind the door, was that footsteps or something else? Her breath freezes. The room grows colder. The night's breath presses against the window. She's at the edge, on the brink of exposing a darkness that's threatened her family for years. Just one step more. Will that be enough, or will the shadows swallow her whole? She knows the answer lies in the next breath, in her unyielding resolve. Because some betrayals run so deep, they threaten to rip everything apart. But sometimes, only the truth can set you free. Now, the question is, will her courage be enough to finally bring light into this chaos? Or is she already too late? The soft click of the front door echoed in the quiet house. Margaret Carter's fingers brushed the faded fabric of her childhood quilt, memories rushing in like a flood. Outside, fireflies blinked lazily, casting tiny sparks against the dusk. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with her mother's lavender perfume, a promise of innocence long lost. Her father's voice, calm, steady, telling stories beneath the stars, feels worlds away now. Shadows of betrayal and secrets have tainted everything. Yet, in that fragile moment, a flicker of resilience ignited within her, a spark that refused to be snuffed out. She's come so far to confront this. The warmth of those memories fuels her resolve. The question is, can she face the truth no matter the cost? Because some secrets threaten to shatter everything, but only the truth might set her free. In a dimly lit room, Margaret Carter stands face to face with Victoria Monroe. The polished veneer of Victoria's controlling facade begins to crack under intense scrutiny. Silence presses heavily between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Margaret's eyes shimmer with a tumult of pain and emerging strength. She slowly places a faded keepsake, a letter, a relic of her past, on the table, as if relinquishing her last tie to betrayal. The faint sound of her deep breath cuts through the stillness, echoing like a thought. Is this the moment I reclaim what's mine? Her trembling hand, steadied by resolve, signals her victory over years of deception. Forgiveness flickers softly like a dying candle's glow, rising from the ashes of betrayal. The room, thick with emotion, becomes a silent witness, her vulnerability met with quiet resilience. In this fragile moment, she chooses her truth. The past may try to hold her, but now she stands unshaken, knowing some betrayals only serve to forge a new strength, brighter than before.